Welcome. And welcome this week to Foreman Boxing Magazine on Provide Network. And if you're watching us on Facebook, hello to you too. Um, we had two guests actually scheduled for today. One was Dwight Muhammad Qawi, and the other was the lightweight boxer here from Atlantic City, John Brown, who's taking on some of the best lightweight fighters in doing his career. John amassed a pretty good record. So it's just a stormy day here at the shore. So I'm not sure whether the weather may have had something to do with these guys not being able to get in because the last place you kind of want to be is near the ocean when there's a flood watch going on. So maybe that's part of the reason. But we're going to talk about boxing anyway. It's a couple of things I want to talk about. Tragically, of course, last week we talked about losing Pernell Whitaker in his accident, been hit by a truck. They had his funeral the other day. Well, seemed to have been well received. I understand over 5,000 or 6,000 people, or maybe more, showed up for the funeral. So I think that was a very good thing to honor a young man who was Olympic gold medalist, a four-time world champion, and a very popular person in the boxing community as well as his own community. He has a gym there in Norfolk, Virginia, I understand. So I've been talking with some of the people in Virginia over the last couple of days. Steve Almas, Reed, I forget this big music producer there, and they want to get together. And we're hoping that by Pernell's birthday, which is January the 17th, the city, we're going to get together and hold a big boxing event honoring Pernell Whitaker. I said that in talking with some people the other day, I think we kind of need to start looking at the Olympics kind of like we do the military. And I think these guys, especially when not to say you're Olympic gold medalists, silver medalists, or bronze, because getting there is something. But I think that we need to find a way to honor them with the Olympics as well once their career is over or when they pass. We need to come up with something to honor those guys just as well. So I think that Pernell Whitaker deserves. He had a great send-off from what I understand. Well attended. Martin Lawrence was there. Evander Holyfield was there, as well as a few other world champions came to town too. So it's good to see that he was received well by the crowd as well as the boxing community. I'm sure that there's just a lot of people. That Ivan Robinson went, as a matter of fact, and I think Montel Griffin went. I'm not 100% sure about that, but they went to honor him, and I wish I would have been able to make it because I like Pernell, and over the last few months, 6 or 7 months or so with Star Johnson, we had started putting together appearances for him. And I told people that, the guy was really starting to get it together. I kind of liked it. Yeah, he has some issues, but which one of us hasn't had any issues, right? Over these years, which one of us hadn't? So I'm kind of sad the way we lost him. But hey, if you love boxing, this guy here gave you everything you could possibly ask for. So in his honor, we're hoping to have this fight and this event for him come January. His birthday is January 17th. So I'm not sure what day that's on, but that's what we're looking at. But the city of Norfolk is going to come out. I think we're looking at doing it at the Scope Arena. And we're going to come out and honor him in a big way. Bring a bunch of his 84 Olympic teammates in. Should be a real blast, but I'll keep you up on it as we go about. And then there was another young man that died the other day, one of Buddy McGirt's fighters. And as much as I follow boxing, I didn't see this. I did see a kid I think they say he was in a induced coma, and I probably can't pronounce his last name, but if you follow the sport of boxing, you know who I'm talking about. I think he died Friday. Well, he didn't die Friday. I think his injury occurred Friday. And, boxing is not table tennis. It's not NWA. It's real. It's real. And there's not a guy who climbs through those ropes anticipates being hurt. But what they do is they anticipate on putting their 100% effort out there. And people tell me that Buddy McGirt said to him, look, you're getting hit too much, I'm going to stop the fight. But the guy didn't want to quit. And I don't know a fighter to this day yet that really wants to quit once those punches start going. It's like a euphoria. They just feel like they can always come back and win this fight. And I apologize for not been able to pronounce the Belia, something like that. Not able to pronounce his name, but to his family and to Buddy McGirt and all of those in the boxing world, we send our condolences as well, because I understand he had a 2-year-old son. So, our condolences with that as well. Now, I know what most of you, and I hate my guest is not here. I guess we're going to continue this sometime when I get them back maybe next week. Is that is Manny Pacquiao the greatest fighter in the last 25 years? That's the question I have. I mean, we can look and say, well, boy, Mayweather was 49-0 in the boxing ring, right? I said 25 years. I'm sorry. What is a generation? I'm not sure what a generation is, but it's a long time. But anyway, so we figured in the last 20 years, is he perhaps the greatest welterweight or one of the greatest fighter? Because he's done something at 40 years old. He beat Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman. He went back and avenged the loss, I think, against the guy Horn, and taking that back. And then somewhere else in between it. We're talking about a 40-year-old guy. So is he the greatest fighter in this generation? I mean, his record is 62, 7, and I think 2. So what is that? 70 fights? You have to dig pretty deep today to find a fighter that's been in the ring for more than 15, 20 years, really, to see if he has had that many fights. He's lost some people. Well, he got knocked out by Marquez, but the greatest loss. Ali's record was not untarnished. Sugar Ray Leonard's record was not untarnished. Sugar Ray Robinson's record was not untarnished. Floyd Mayweather and Rocky Marciano were the only 2 fighters to retire from the sport of boxing. And I'm not sure that Mayweather is finished about now. I spoke with somebody that was around him. I was with him in L.A. last week, as a matter of fact, so a week before last, whatever. And we didn't talk to boxing because it was definitely something totally different. But I got a feeling that what Manny Pacquiao has done is kind of eating at him a little bit. Now, I think it'd be foolish, personally. Floyd's been out for 2.5 or 3 years now, other than that little exhibition he gave over in Tokyo. That's nothing. But I watched him in his basketball game, and you could tell that he was a little bit heavier than what he had normally been in regular times. Let me say hello to Ernie DeStefano. This is my business guy over in Cannes, and Ernie's leaving the store for we're going to get a new board of directors. Ernie, I agree with the board of directors. No problem with that. I've just been so busy, I haven't had a chance to get you, but I agree with the choice. Michael Harris, my friend in Houston, Richard Henderson, and hello, my Darren down here. All those guys in Houston. No, actually, Richard's in Philadelphia, and the others are in Houston. So hello to the people in Houston and Philadelphia, and Ernie, they're in Delaware, I think, for tuning in us today. But now, is Manny Pacquiao? We start pointing, and I try to name a couple of other fighters because Errol Spence's career is not over with yet. I mean, at this point, it's not over. He's undefeated, but he's not over. Keith Thurman, a lot of people thought was one of the best of the crew, of this young crew. We're not talking about 35 or 40-year-old fighters now. We're talking about 20 guys that haven't made 30, I don't think, yet. So Pacquiao is competing against these guys, and he's doing it on a level that nobody thought. Now, I did see something on the internet. Somebody said that they thought maybe he was cheating. Well, I don't know if cheating, if you mean cheating by working hard, this guy's life has been one it's a dream. I got a chance to the other day, and I called some of Manny Pacquiao fights, and I broadcast some when I was working with HBO and International. I got a chance to do some of his fights, and his story is just totally amazing. I mean, I watched him. They said his kid started at 40 pounds boxing. He told his dad he wanted to fight, his uncle rather, that he wanted to fight. And from 40 pounds to 60 to 80 to 112 pounds, I think is when he started professional. Now, we're talking about a guy that went from 112 pounds all the way up to 54 pounds at one time, I think, as a matter of fact. 8 division titles. And, I mean, he won these. WBA, IBF, but he won 8 division titles. We're not talking about the same title belt. That's in itself is unheard of. I think Floyd may have won 4 or 5. I think Sugar Ray Leonard won 3. And when Ray Robinson was back in his day, they had lightweights. You know what I understand? It was lightweights or welterweights. So it wasn't a thing of whether who's the best super welterweight is. It was just that's what probably separates Ray Robinson from everything, or from everybody, because this guy went up to light heavyweight, and had it not been for the heat, they said when I forget the guy he fought up in somewhere in Jersey, he just passed out because the heat was too much for him. But he was winning the fight. If you ever see that fight, you'll know. So it's one of those things that is he the greatest fighter of this generation? Send me a question on Facebook. I can look at it and somebody will give me the question. Oh, we got some more people that's tuned in. Stacey Henderson, Paul Driscoll, Eddie Morgan, Aaron Neely, Lee West, and Joe Day. Oh, these guys from all over the country. So thank you for tuning in. Again, I was scheduled to have Dwight Kwawi and Joe Brown on today. John Brown, rather, not Joe Brown. John Brown on today. But I'm supposing, like I say, it's a rainy day here at the shore. Last place you want to be is near the ocean when there's a flash flood. What's wrong with us, right? But we're here at Vibes. We're here at The Choice. We're on Provide. We're on Facebook. We're talking boxing. We're inside. So then let me know what you think about that. They made Porter and Spence. The fight is actually signed. And I was one that thought that fight, and I really thought that, well, I'll put it like this. I think what pushed that fight up was the fact of what Manny Pacquiao did the other night, because I had been told by some people that should Pacquiao win this fight, that Errol Spence would take on Manny Pacquiao sometime toward the first of next year, which would have left Sean Porter out for a while. Now that fight, Pacquiao goes out and makes a sensational showing, and it was a split decision, but I have to wonder why the judge is always so hard on Manny. But it was a split decision. But now Porter and Spence comes up. The winner of this fight will have to fight Manny Pacquiao. 1, it's a lot of money. 2, he's the next best that's out there. Adrian Broner's gone by the wayside. Now Keith Thurman is gone by the wayside. Heard, there's some others. I don't want to see Errol Spence move up to 154. Now I haven't forgot Crawford. Don't worry about it. I'm going to get to Crawford in a minute too. But I forgot about him. He made who was it that said it? I don't know if it was Roy Jones Jr. Someone said it. I don't want to make a statement for anyone else, but somebody said that Crawford may be the best of this whole lot. I don't quite agree with that. I thought Errol Spence is and still is. Crawford moved up in weight, which in itself is he's doing not as low as as Manny was. But will the fight with Crawford and Spence take place after Spence and Porter? I think I have my doubts about the Sean Porter fight and the Errol Spence fight. And everybody knows, people always use this thing where they say style makes fights. The problem I have with that is that out in California, with the fight is taking place, and if I'm not, which I'm not, and Derek James is a real good friend of mine. He trains Errol, but I don't know if I would take the fight there. Porter is the kind of guy that his style is just raggedy. You know what I mean? He bounces around, he moves around. I don't like that fight. And if Errol can't go out and get him, that's going to be an issue there. You know what? That's going to be an issue. And he can make you look bad. And if that happens, what you've just done, even if Errol beats him, you're probably going to hurt the pay-per-view numbers, because this is a fight that somebody has to get a knockout. Manny Pacquiao didn't get a knockout, but this guy looked better than anybody I've seen. He's 40 years old, 41, 42. I don't know how old he is actually. He's 40 plus years old. So it's one of those things that the guys, George was 44, I think, or 45 when he won the heavyweight title. Big guys just last like that. Little guys are not supposed to do what Manny Pacquiao is doing. I'm sorry. And I feel so bad about the guys that's kind of been, some of the younger guys that's been left out, because Manny has stayed in. I think after the Marquez fight, everybody thought he was finished. Then he came back and went to fight against Floyd and did absolutely nothing. Now, I ask you this question. Do you want to see Manny and Floyd fight again? Because I told people the very first time what they were going to get with that fight. I said, you're going to get a dance. Now, the guys made a pocket full of money. They say they made an ass pocket full of money. They made a bunch of money. But you got no fight. Now, do you think you're going to get any more of a fight now? Manny's going to try to come and fight, and hopefully this time he won't say that I hurt my shoulder or something was wrong with me. But I don't think Floyd Mayweather, and I think I was starting on this earlier, and I said I didn't see Floyd. I just saw Floyd Mayweather this basketball game, and he looked like he might have been about 160-something odd pounds even then. So I'm not sure. Do you take 6 months to wait on that fight? 7 months. Floyd said, I need more time. I got to train. I got to get back. I got to put my staff together. Well, I think he has a team of boxers. So it shouldn't be that hard to get guys back together. But there's a mental part as well as a physical part that goes with getting getting back in the ring again, especially when you've been out for, I'm not talking about that karate stuff or whatever that stuff you did, that MMA stuff with that boy. But I mean, I'm talking about a boxer and one that you know is going to bring it to you each and every time, like Manny Pacquiao is. I think it's just a big difference. Someone, I think it was Teddy Atlas, and if I'm wrong about this, but I think it was Teddy Atlas that said that Manny Pacquiao, that Floyd could actually get hurt if he fight. No, it was. I'm wrong. It was a guy on Fox Sports News, Fox Sports, whatever it is, Bayless. He said he actually think that Floyd Mayweather could get hurt in fighting Manny Pacquiao. If Floyd tried to fight Manny in 3 months, it could be an issue. But given the 6 months to get ready, train, would it be Floyd Mayweather's a competitor? He's not going to lay down for anybody, you know that, and he doesn't want to lose to Manny Pacquiao. I think what has to happen, Floyd, I don't think that boxing should just let Floyd Mayweather come back in and just fight Manny Pacquiao. I really don't. I don't care whether he went out 50-0, 52-0, whatever. And will you pay for it? Probably, yeah, you'll pay for it because you want to see the fight. It's just I don't think it's fair to the other boxers that are in line now. I know I always say it's called a prize game. Prize fighting is what it is. And yeah, the biggest prize. But I think that if Floyd Mayweather's going to come back, he should come back and have a fight against one of the other young guys or somebody at least to prove that, hey, I'm in the physical shape that I need to be. And to take on a fight like Manny Pacquiao. I just don't agree with that. And I didn't think much of the first one. I don't see much happening because I know that when these guys get a bunch of money lined up, it's like everything else. You ever notice how in the NFL, not so much in the NBA, maybe, but in the NFL, maybe in the NFL, guys get a bunch of money. They sign for this new contract. Then guess what? The next year they hurt. Not the fact that because they're hurt from that. It's just that they're looking so much because of the. They're showing me things here, which is kind of like good around here, but. More people, I guess. Oh, it's good to see Paul Driscoll. Oh, if Floyd fights. Oh, this is from Paul Driscoll. If Floyd fights toe-to-toe, he gets beat. That's why we fight to stop. Well, I agree. But name me more than, and okay, what's the other one? Okay, yeah. Oh, people that are watching. More people. George, Mario Mendoza. I'm sorry. David Rougeau. That's my friend. Pastor Rougeau. He just got in what they call it when they get to be a preacher. David Rougeau. Milton, Lou. Oh, wow, okay. And George. All right, glad to see you guys tuning in. Thank you again. But, yeah, when have you seen Mayweather fight toe-to-toe against anybody? He's not going to fight him toe-to-toe. But can he run? Can he run and move? Can he? But Floyd doesn't even have the style where he's nimble on his feet. He has this thing here where he blocks, shoulder roll and all that kind of stuff like that. But he's not the kind of fighter that's going to move around the ring. And that's not his style. And if he does that, I think what he's done then is probably let people know that I'm not in here for the fight. I'm in here for the money. I don't think I can win. So I think he'll have to stand toe-to-toe with Manny Pacquiao. In the first fight, he had a round, I think it was the third round or something, where he kind of went off on Manny for a minute. And I think that's when Manny realized his shoulder was hurt. Now, whether that's true, I'm not there. I'm not in the ring with him. But I think that's when Manny kind of realized his shoulder was hurt. He realized that if he couldn't throw those punches at Floyd like that, He had to stop himself from being knocked out. I think I'm not a betting man. I've never bet on a fight in my life, and I wouldn't. But I think that I knew that fight would go 12 rounds for the obvious reasons. As I said before, guys get their money. They don't want to get hurt. They want to spend that money. And Floyd has had a ball spending deals. Trust me, planes, jets, planes, trains, automobiles, you name it. He's got it. But there comes a time that even with the most of the money you have, if you've been spending it, all of a sudden you realize, hey, I got to get a little bit more. So maybe he will. But again, my opinion on the fight, I'm a boxing fan, like you are. But don't be suckered into the bout. I mean, Manny Pacquiao did what he was supposed to do the last 3 fights. He's 40 years old. Both these guys are 40 plus years old. One night in the ring, it just happens. Now, will it be that night between those two? I don't know. The other part of the boxing divisions is now, since Porter and Spence has been made, where's Crawford going to go? I don't hear much about him now. I'm not hearing much about him. He's kind of like stand back, waiting to see, who's going to be who. They're saying let's see who's left, and I'll clean this thing up. Well, maybe, but at the same time, he's got to stay active to keep his name out there. Lomachenko, who I think is one of the most purest, natural of all the fighters out there. The guy can do some of everything. Moves, fights at angles, fights with power. I got a feeling you're going to start to see him move up in the way because he's beating everybody at his division. So, Crawford's chasing this guy. He's chasing Crawford. So everybody's coming up here now. You don't hear much about the guys in the light heavyweight division. Some of those guys are starting to go into the heavyweight divisions now because, why? That's what the money seems to be. It's always like that when the king gets knocked off the crown, everybody starts moving up. So they start chasing the crown. And I see now where David Ortiz and Deontay Wilder is about to have their rematch again. And everybody's wondering what's going to take place with that one. Will Ortiz do what he did the first time and kind of fade and come back and let Wilder get him? Or this time, if he gets Wilder in trouble, maybe the referee doesn't step in or whatever, or he doesn't fade, maybe we have another champion that way. Ruiz and is looking to defend this title. I'm not sure who he's going to defend this title against. All right, we have another question. Let me see. 2 men close to the same age is like Foreman versus Holmes. Makes sense. Some young blood ready. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because just like George Foreman and Larry Holmes, everybody knew who these guys were. But I can almost tell you that at the point, that point, Paul, is that George or Larry wanted to get hurt. Yeah, they wanted to win. And I think you probably would have seen, a lot of people seem to think George might have knocked Larry out. Larry's only knocked out once in his career. That was against that hard punching Mike Tyson, and the young Tyson then. I think that Larry could have survived, but Larry had such a good jab even at 40-something years old. Both those guys, even at 40-something, was better than most of those guys was at 30, 32, 33 years of age. It would have been a good fight had they ever made it. Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. You guys make the decision because I don't. I think I may get to the fights if I'm working the press thing, but I don't buy tickets. I don't buy the pay-per-view thing. You guys are the ones that have to do that. So whatever you decide, you guys are going to be the one. If you want to see that fight, then it'll take place. I guarantee you. Hello, Christian Sanchez, Tamika Gilbert, Floyd, Glenn Monday, and Milton. What is it? Okay, I'm trying to make sure I get the name right because they're writing this thing down on here. I'm sorry. This is live TV, and I like to think we've given people a pretty good show. Oh, okay. Milton Lubin. I'm sorry, Milton. I should have known that, by the way. But the thing about this is that here on what we've been bringing to you on Provide for like the last 3 or 4 months is an update on all the things that's taking place in boxing. Facebook has given us an extra way to do it, but we're here. We've been coming to the choice now for about 2 months now. I think this is our 6th or 7th show here. And the people here at Vibe, the choice has been very, very good to us here. And by the way, if you ever want to come over and join us, you can. There's a great kitchen in the back. Mo's Chicken is in the back. They cook food for you, got a drink for you. So it's a good place to come. But like I said, today is a bad day. But I'm going to take time for this very important commercial break, as they say in the in the television industry. Hard Rock Live at the Estes Arena, the Jazz Fest, Atlantic City Jazz Fest, September 14th, 2019, at the Hard Rock, featuring Bonnie James, Najee, Norman Brown, Lindsey Webster, and Pieces of a Dream, one of my favorite music bands, Pieces of a Dream, and Joe Baton. Tickets and for more information or advertising and sponsorship opportunities, visit our official website at www.acjazzfest.com. Uh, if you're a jazz fan, you don't want to miss that. So that should be, and we'll be talking about that every week up until that time, till the time comes. And also, if you really want to come in, and last week we had a great crowd here, by the way. Uh, if you really want to come in and sit and talk talk boxing, ask questions, we love that. Like I said, today it's kind of a little messed up outside there, but it's still a good time to come in and talk boxing. I want to go back to Ortiz again. I'm sorry, not Ortiz. I want to go back to Ruiz again. Andy is still out doing his celebratory thing, but my understanding that he's back in the gym this week. Now, I haven't seen whether it's going to be Anthony Joshua yet, because that fight, they were saying at first that the fight had already been agreed to before, but that's the way it is when something like upset like that happens. Nobody thought that the rematch would be Andy Ruiz versus the Joshua, because nobody thought Andy Ruiz would beat Anthony Joshua. So, but now Ruiz is kind of like the guy that's holding them, and like this here. So now they have to agree, and I'm sure that he wants a lot more money to go to the UK and fight Anthony Joshua. My thing is, winning the heavyweight championship of the world, or any title for that as it goes, it's a hard thing to do. You work hard to get there, and as I said before, every fighter that steps into that ring, everyone that steps into that ring is taking a chance. It's not tennis, not ping pong, it's not swimming. It's called a fight game, and those guys put it all out on the line. And I understand Andy by saying, "Hey, I want to make as much money as I possibly can. I want the celebratory thing that comes along with it." But at the same time, you got to get back into the gym if you're going to defend your title and say, and continue to prove that you're the best. After that, you got the guys that's kind of like nobody knows about. Dylan White, Tesoro. I think somebody, Spivak, Tesoro knocked out Spivak this weekend. These are European fighters that most of us here have no idea who they are. And I guess we really don't care. But it's just the same part about this whole thing is that Big Baby Miller, who's supposed to have had their shot at the title and had an excellent opportunity of winning the heavyweight title. I always thought he had a chance to beat Joshua regardless. Replacing with Andy Ruiz kind of showed me that he possibly could have done it. And he's got to be kicking himself. What I don't want to happen to him is I see that someone told me that the New York State Athletic Commission stripped him of his license, which, okay, suspend him, but don't strip him. Boxers don't tend to have, and I say this all the time, boxing does not have an organizations or a regulation that says what can and cannot happen to a guy. If the WBA, the WBC says, "Hey, look, it's done," guess what? It's done. There's nobody fighting for you. You can get your lawyer, it costs you a lot of money to go up against that, but they're fighting for you. So do not, don't allow that to happen to him. He made a mistake. Clean up, baby. Come back again. Get yourself together, and they'll give you a shot again. But you're gonna have to be clean, and you're gonna have to prove that you want to be the heavyweight champion of the world. If you want another chance to fight for the Kenny Rainfoot, Jeff Candy Slim. Oh, I remember Jeff Merritt. Yeah, out of Oakland, California. Yeah, of course I do. And Roy Williams. Yes, I do. Crawford versus Spence would be nice. Paul, you're a boxing fan, Paul. Yeah, I know. You're a boxing fan. Yeah, Jeff Merriman was a hard-hitting heavyweight. I think Jeff started off as a light heavyweight for some reason. I remember him, but I think he was out of Oakland because he was back during the time in the 70s when I was in college out in that way, late 70s. He was out there. And a pretty good fighter, as a matter of fact. I think he wound up signing with Don King, which he You kind of know where that went, don't you? I'll tell you about that story sometime. But it's one of the things that, and Roy Williams was another was a big heavyweight, perennial. Those guys were good journeymen, yeah, along. But Jeff was actually a serious contender. Yeah, I remember him very well. Uh, Spencer and Crawford, as one of the viewers just said, good fight. If they fight in Texas again, California, Nevada, maybe here in New York, it'd be nice if Atlantic City would throw some money into this pot. And I think if I was given the right opportunity by the city of Atlantic City, I know all the promoters that's involved in this thing. If they gave the right deal, I think I could kind of help persuade, at least put Atlantic City in the mix for one of those fights. We need something like that here. I'm always asked, when do you think Atlantic City is going to get a big fight again? But we're going to get a big fight again when Atlantic City realizes that the thing that drove this town in the early, in the early '80s, the '90s into the 2000s, were those boxing matches that they brought in here with the big name, whether the Tyson, the Holyfield, Pernell Whitakers, Arturo Gatti, and the Ivan Robinson, and guys like that. Roy Jones Jr. I mean, we brought in some of the Bernard Hopkins. We brought in some of the biggest fights for about 10 or 12 years. I mean, it was big here. It's time that we get back to that. So maybe we need to get together with the fathers here in Atlantic City, that runs the city. And I think the governor is going to have to step in. Governor Murphy is a progressive guy. I've seen some of the things he's doing. And Governor Murphy, what I should say to you should get with Commissioner Larry Hazzard and have Larry Hazzard to also go out and start trying to pursue some of these fights. But you're going to have to give them a little bit of something. I think a tax abatement for the right fight would go very well. And if the fighters don't have to pay the state income tax, you do it for the businesses. And what better business than to do it for the boxing business? And the casino industry could use it as well. And the people around the city could use that extra income as well also. So I'm hoping that we're able to bring something like that part. Okay, what's the next question they give me? Gail?
She's in the audience.
Oh, Gail. They want me to let you know that Gail hates us in the audience here, okay? And so, Bernie. Is that Bernie over there? Hey, Bernie, what's going on? Bernie is here, and Bernie is here. Harris is here, and the rain is here. It's a beautiful day outside if you like the rain. Right. But it's not cold, right? We're not saying this to you in November and December. But look, the fight game here could use a big pickup. And what's going to have to happen is going to take a group of people to come in and make this happen, and at the same time make something happen for the sport of boxing, as well as I talk about all the time, get to the point of publicity wise for this fight for fighters. Now we need a publicity. I say this all the time. We need a publicity campaign for fighters. Ernie DeStefano, who I said earlier, was watching this. He has a company. It started a group that's really interested in promoting the sport of boxing, as well as being making perhaps some type of league for the boxers themselves. So that's what we need, because boxing is an individual sport, and if the fighter gets to be good, 15, 20 fights, and he's undefeated, everybody starts saying, oh man, this guy's pretty good. They start following him. Other than that, it's not that, because he doesn't have the money to put together a PR team to say, I'm the best fighter. I think I like the little guy, Michael Williams Jr. His dad does a terrific job with him from a PR standpoint. And I like him a lot because he spends a lot of time promoting him on Facebook and everywhere else. I think on the Twitter and everywhere else. So that's self-promotion. But at the same time, and I want to say congratulations to Shakur Stevenson also, too, because I think he's the next superstar. Inside the next year and a half or so, we're probably going to see him in the mix with one of these guys as well. So it's not the idea that there aren't the boxers around. We just have to promote the fighters and get them ready as well. So anyway, again, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope I answered a couple of your questions. We got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question?
My question is, I went to the fight, and from what I saw, I thought Foreman should have won the fight. I know that it was a draw, You
No,
know,
it was a
and
split decision.
it was a split decision.
Yes, split decision. Yes.
And I know that he landed more punches. So, and then I know that when Pacquiao, when they called, said that Pacquiao won the fight, it was a lot of uproar about that. You know, so because I feel like a lot of people felt the same way I felt from what I saw. I felt like I was like, oh, everybody just knew that Thurman had to fight. You know, even watching the expression on his wife's face, you know, she thought he won the fight too. A lot of people thought he had to fight.
And that's people from the East Coast.
So what is your
That's people from the East Coast.
So that's what I want to know.
Well,
what is your personal take on that?
This is the thing you have to look about scoring in boxing, right?
That's what I want to know.
The knockdown in the first round put him behind basically 2 rounds because of the scoring system. Okay. So now, in order for him to make this up, he's got to go out either knock Manny down in 1 or 2 of these next rounds, or dominate them completely so much that they are 10-8 rounds. Mm-hmm. He was playing catch up from that point on. Okay. And Manny, in the 10th round, Manny hit him with some more shots. I mean, it was obviously Manny controlled the first part of the fight. In the second half, it seems like Keith was a little bit, was coming a lot, which you expect against a 41-year-old man and a 29-year-old man. You expect that, little energy. But Manny didn't let up off the gas pedal, because in the 10th round, he caught him with a shot, and that made him to stop it. And I guarantee you that somewhere the judges gave that into a 10-8 round again, which now you're basically down an extra 2 rounds. Now you're down 3 rounds, actually. So I think the score is like 115, 112, 114, 113, or something like that for Keith Thurman. Mm-hmm. I thought Keith Thurman had a chance. I'm one of the ones that said here that Keith Thurman could win this fight. And I really thought he had a chance of winning it. But, I do know that with these fighters, and especially the older fighters, and Keith said this himself, he said this guy been in some wars. And he hadn't been in the war, so he knew how to take it. All right. And that was the difference in the fight.
Thank you. That's why we have the Foreman Boxing Magazine, to get it from a professional perspective.
We pay her a lot of money to say that.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. But, I mean, at the same time, all right, we're going to try to, okay, what do we have? We got Paul, a few more punches, a body shot.
More punches and body shot later. Okay, Kenny Rayford says, if Shavers hits Tyson, who wins?
Well, if Shavers hits anybody on the chin, I mean, Mike didn't have the best chins. I've always said that. And if you look at it, he was hit in a few of his fights. Buster Douglas, Evander Holyfield, James Quick Tillis. What's the guy from New York with the braids? They got into the fight in the street. Mitch Green. So Mike didn't have the best chin. He got stung a few times, but I mean, anybody that Ernie Shavers hit was going to go down. I mean, ask Larry Holmes. So Larry Holmes had a great chin as well. So I don't see that being a big of an issue about now. But the problem with me is that Ernie had problems at times finishing fights as well. People talk about how well of a puncher he was, and he was a great puncher. But a lot of his fights, Ernie got stopped in. The Jerry Corey fight was one that he just, he had Corey on the ropes, but then what happened was Corey came back and got it. I was talking with, I want to say it was my brother, but it may not have been, maybe another fighter. We was talking about this just the other day. Today's fighters are not as hungry, I think, as fighters was back then. What is it called? The Hunger Games? I think that's a show I watched called The Hunger Games. And fighting back in the 20s, 1890s, 1900s, up until really about 1980s and 90s, boxing was a Hunger Games sport. I mean, most of the guys, look, be honest with you, they didn't have much of an education. They didn't want to go to school. So they found that they could use these to make money with. Somebody trained them. I always said the most dangerous guy to me, the most dangerous fighter in the ring was a fighter that learned how to box. And then the next most dangerous one was a boxer that learned how to fight. Ali was a boxer that learned how to fight. George Foreman was a fighter that learned how to box later on in his career. Mike Tyson was a fighter. He never got to box. Never did. Evander Holyfield was a boxer who got to be a fighter. Danger, which made him. Lennox Lewis was a guy. I still don't, to this day, people always ask me about my opinion about Lennox Lewis. And the bowl fight that didn't take place kind of made me, was my opinion on that one. And I wish Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis would have fought, because I think between two of the big guys, I'm talking about 6'5", 6'6" guys, and I think Bowe beats him. But I look back at how Rockman knocked him flat on his back. I looked at how the other guy from that was kind of when it started crying, Oliver McCall, knocked him out. You know, and the second time McCall had a nervous breakdown, kind of because of the drugs. You know, of course. But so I didn't see Lennox Lewis as this great champion that everybody else. Good fighter, great fighter. Yeah, I can look at him as a great fighter, but I don't see him as. I don't even come close to ever putting him in my top 10 guys. I'm sorry, top 5 anyway. So yeah, he won the title. I think he won the title 3 times or 4 times, something like that. And I always said, if you won it that many times, I mean you lost it a few more times too, right? So that's the other side of it. So yeah, Shavers, Tyson. I give the edge to Tyson, but I think Tyson could get back up again and would have a better chance of finishing Ernie off. Jimmy Young was one of those kind of guys too. Slick, moved around. If you didn't get him early, you weren't going to get him. That's what he did to George and what he did to Ali. So, but then some of those guys, they get in the ring with the other guys, and they couldn't do anything with guys less. Jerry Corey was one of those guys that was just tough. But every time he jumped in, he beat everybody. Mac Foster, Ernest Avers, you name those guys, he beat them. But when he got in the ring with guys like Joe Frazier and Ali, he was just an ordinary fighter, which tells you how good those guys, how great those guys were. I'm very excited to always talk about the older fighters, because I was around those guys as a kid growing up, and I got a chance to actually see these guys in the gym, go to the fights and watch them work out. Okay, what do we got here now? Paul. If Mike Weaver hit him, that would Hercules Weaver. Yeah, I agree with you on that too. Because Mike was a dangerous puncher, as the fight with Big John Tate tells you. You know, one punch, it ends it all. Yusuf Ali. Okay. Thurman head wasn't. You know what? Somebody else said that too, though. That Thurman's head wasn't in the fight. I don't know if it was one of the announcers or somebody who said he may have been too much into Manny Pacquiao. Because every time you seen him on an interview or something, he was emulating what Pacquiao did, not what Keith Thurman was going to need to do. And I do believe that with Manny Pacquiao, with Keith Thurman, those lights were just too bright. Sometimes it happens. The lights were just too bright. And by the time he kind of halfway had it figured out, the fight was over with and the decision was gone. I think there'll be a rematch in that fight. You know, James Whitehead. Oh, thank you, James. That's my brother from another mother, James Whitehead. Are you in Washington now, James? I'm not sure where you are, but I know you're on the East Coast. And David, Devo, Stefano, Devo. Okay. They're putting these names, so if I'm mispronouncing you, but I know who you are because I can see you up here on the thing up here on Facebook. But we own Provide Television, which is our broadcast company. And I'm sure they're just loving all this that we're doing now. But listen, the idea that we're giving you a history on it. We're trying to give you history on boxing and bring it, like I said, again, up to date on all the shows that's coming up. This past weekend in Atlantic City, we had a nice little show here. And I understand that a lot of the guys didn't fight that needed to fight, but there was a nice show over at the boardwalk at the Showboat. And some of the fights got postponed because I think that the young man from here, his dad was the champion. Isaiah Selden was supposed to have fought. His fight fell through. Lamana, his fight fell through, but they'll be back again. So I said last week, if you're a boxing fan in this area, and I say this area, Philadelphia, Jersey, New York, and can get here, start supporting us because these guys need this. They need these fights here. That's the only way we're going to get the bigger fights. So we have to show our support for the little ones. If we don't do that, then we're just left out, and they're just left out in the cold. But anyway, I want to thank you for tuning in and for the questions that you gave me. Oh, I got one more question before we go that someone is asking me to do. And again, I want to remind you about the Jazz Festival. Okay, this is coming from Bernie. What's the question, Bernie?
I think they should go back to 15 rounds.
15 rounds of boxing?
I personally believe somebody would die, but
Yeah, I think that, you know what? My opinion, and this, because we got asked this a couple of weeks ago and I didn't answer that question. I'm glad you brought that up. I really think boxing should be 6 rounds. 6 rounds. I really do. Because you'll get a lot more action and you would see the best out of the fighters. I've always believed that, 15, and that was a war. That was the last one. Then it went to 12, and some title fights are even 10. But personally, I've always said fights should be six rounds, maybe go 4 minutes, 6 rounds. You get 24 rounds. That's a lot. See, people say that, oh man, 3 rounds. Listen, first time I went into the gym and somebody said, hit the bag for 3 minutes. I said, okay. Bang, I got to hit in this bag. Look. And I said, oh, whoa. I said, how much time I got left? They said 2 minutes and 55 seconds. See, that's the thing about it. It's not as easy as people think, and especially when a guy's trying to take your head off. So, no, it doesn't work. I mean, I know they won't go down to 6, but I think 6 or 8 rounds, maybe even 8 would be enough. And I think people would get a lot of more action out of the fights and be totally satisfied with that. Ali, yes. You got a question. Ali Williams is stepping up to the plate now.
I do have a question. What happened over the weekend, and then also all of the things about concussion protocols, head damage, the slur after a lot of fighters retire, which they call punch drunk.
Yeah, punch drunk, right.
Exactly. Has the commissioner even thought about, or anyone ever thought about going back to headgear?
I think that, the amateurs, that's the one thing I'm glad that they never shucked, because at one time that in the Olympics, if you look back around 68 and 70, they didn't have headgear. Right. And something smart, somebody smart, or either it was an option, and somebody got smart, so they're going to make them keep on. I think that people, the promoters, are afraid that if they go to headgears, the crowd may not like it. I agree with you. The headgears is one thing that I think they should do. Fighters complain about their vision sometimes, but my thing is, hey, we both have the same blocked out vision, so it doesn't matter about that. Yeah, from a safety standpoint, maybe it hasn't been introduced, and maybe that's something we're going to have a couple of weeks. We're going to have Dr. Margaret Lamana and a couple other doctors around the area that Joe Pasquale is going to bring over, and we're going to have a roundtable to talk about that right here, and we're going to talk about that to see if maybe. If someone introduced it, and then anything to cut down on the lack of a concussion at these fighters. But the thing about it, I look at the football players; they wear helmets, and these guys are having so many problems as well today themselves. Yeah. And I don't know whether from their contact, but boxing is the only sport that's meant to really cause damage. You know what I mean? Exactly. And so in that point, I agree with you. Yeah, I wouldn't see anything wrong with it. I think it'd be a great idea.
Yeah, also help the lifespan of boxers as well.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That was Ali Williams. He owns this. He runs this place. They're called Vibes here. So we're glad. I'm glad I like the fact when we have questions. All right, we got another one. Oh, I want to give you the name of the fighter that died because. Oh, Larry Carter, Commissioner Hazard. Commissioner Hazard, you got to come back because we want to. What do you think about the headgear thing? I did an interview with Larry Hazard that we'll be showing in a few weeks. That was just like, to me, is one of the best ones I ever did. Larry's a friend, but I learned so much about him, and this guy truly is, the best thing that's happened to boxing over the last, 40 years since I've been around the sport. So it's good to see. And I'm glad I hope even when he decides to retire, I still hope he stays in and keep instituting some of those things that boxing needs in the sport. But again, as I said before, before you got on here, I told you, Commissioner, we need to get together with these guys at these casinos in the city, the state, the governor, get some of these fights back in Atlantic City. Hello to Truman Sutler, how are you? And the fighter's name that died was Maxim Dadashev, I think. Dadashev, I may not be pronouncing it right, but this is a young man that died the other night, and send your prayers out to his family. As I said, he had a 2-year-old kid. And he's a guy that, because boxers don't quit. The knockouts occur because they don't quit. They just don't quit. And he won't be the last. He's definitely not the first. But our prayers to him and his family. And like I said, to the boxing world, we lost Pernell Whitaker. And, you know, people were saying how tragic that was. It was. Purnell had had his years in, though, in the ring. He had retired and unfortunately got hit by an automobile. And this young man died doing what he liked. And I know you can't see it, but Maxime Dadashay. And hey, salute you. Well, as always, that's enough of that. I've talked a lot, right, by myself. I was hoping we had guys would have showed up. They didn't, but we'll have somebody in next week for you to talk to and ask some more questions. You won't have to listen to me babble all the time, but I really enjoyed it. And as always, I say we'll see you at the fights.